Okay.
So the movie that we watched this week was Princess Mononoke. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it 100%. But it follows the prince Ashikata. It follows him. He was infected after a boar was infected. He got infected trying to defend his town. So we follow him as he tries to find the forest god so that he could clear up his cure, or so he could clean his infection, I mean. And along the way, he meets a couple of people. He meets Lady Ishobi. She runs the Iron Town, and she wants to clear out the forest so that they can make a lot of money. And he also meets San, who is the wolf girl. Um, yeah, that's a pretty good synopsis to start us off.
Okay, so our first section is the editing. Melody, take it away.
Okay, so first off, I thought that the editing, like, with the animation, I thought it was beautifully animated. It kind of reminded me of Pocahontas because of like its connection to nature and how it just like captured the beauty and essence of it. And it had very vivid colors. I felt the transitions from scene to scene was seamless. It didn't seem like the movie was dragging on. It seemed like, it was going in sequence. So I liked that. And I just thought it was very dreamlike and beautiful. I also liked how things were drawn to show good and evil. Like, for example, whenever danger was coming, like with the ape tribe, it got very dark and very black. And whenever they were safe, things would get brighter. Like when the forest spirit came and the sun started shining and he was walking on the water. So when I did my research, I saw that it was mostly hand drawn, but it did use some computer generated animation as well. And there was also some 3D rendering used in the demon flesh. Because I think you could kind of see that because the demon flesh kind of looked like it was coming right at you. So I thought that was nicely done. The forest was based on the Shiratani Unsuni, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, forest in Yakushima, Japan. And the budget was approximately 23.5 million dollars. So yeah, I just liked it. It was really nice.
I agree. I love me a Studio Ghibli movie, to be honest. And I feel like Miyazaki, I feel like he eats up every time when it comes to like the animation. Like they all just flow so beautifully. It seems like it's like a storytelling. It doesn't seem like it's just like another little movie that you're sitting through. I love them all. First of all, the best is Ponyo, but we're not gonna talk about that. And I like how when it comes to like a liquid in like the movie or something like that, it sort of flows well. So it feels like you're actually there. I don't know. I just enjoy the movie so well.
Yeah, I agree.
Me too. I think that it was very well drawn. Like you said, like it's not just another movie, that you have to sit through. It was very enjoyable, and it definitely, the editing style definitely gives like that mythical type look, because I mean they are talking about like forest gods and things like that. So I would take it as that kind of being their type of myths. So they did I mean, it's very gorgeous. It's very beautiful to watch.
I want to add, like, for me, like, I'm not really like a big anime person, but I just want to say, like, I like how they drew the background just as like in detail and in depth as they drew the things up close. Like, I don't know if this is kind of old, like it's like 1997, I think. So it's like for them to put so much effort and detail into it, I really thought that stood out because I feel like back in the day they used to just kind of blur, like blur the background. So I feel like it made it seem like we were like really, in the little in the nature with them or something like that.
I agree with that.
So our next section is the music, and Marche said she would also do the script. So
Yeah, so there's not a whole bunch to talk about for music because I mean there's a lot of music happening, but no like songs and things like in other movies that we've watched so far. But one thing to say is throughout the entire movie, the music that does play most of the time is very soft. It's very whimsical. They use a lot of like string instruments, a lot of flutes, and even in the scenes when there's like danger or conflict, they still use the same instruments. It's just like a little louder, and of course, like the tone is different. But they kept it very light. They kept, it matched the editing, it matched the storyline. They did a very good job at just making it seem like fantasy, but also realistic. So kind of in between for that. And for script, I mean, it was a great movie. To be honest, they did a really good job giving conflict between man and nature, which I think might be our big question or a part of our question, like just warring in general. Um, Giving those fantasy elements to like real life conflict, I think help especially I mean it helps a lot of people really understand what happens during war and conflict. And then you have the Iron Town, that part specifically where they talk about they want to completely clear out the forest. I thought that that was very important given climate change and the fight against climate change going on recently. I thought that that was great for it to stop, for them to stop them from completely clearing out the forest. I think that's something that a lot of us are hopeful for to happen for climate change, at least right now. But overall, the script, I think that they did a really, really great job at just bring a lot of realism into the fantasy element of the movie because I know, it's their culture and I think that their culture is very vast and just getting a peek into their beliefs in a way that, is easy for us to understand is I mean, it's amazing to see what they have to offer.
I agree. I think what I like about like all of the movies in a sense is that they all have like an underlying theme of like what's going on in the environment and how is it like a contrast of what we're actually doing to help it. I also like I had watched a video a while ago, like a few months ago, and I had remembered that he had said that Miyazaki had said that he didn't want to make like a period drama or like a samurai-esque movie because that he felt like that'd be like feeding into stereotypes. And he wanted to do something that was sort of different and it touched on issues but was still a little carefree and fun. So
Right.
I enjoyed it. Our next section is the casting.
Okay, so the casting was interesting. I personally watched the dubbed version, so I watched the movie in English with the English cast, but there was an original version which included a Japanese cast. Before the English cast, they definitely adapted the version to include some pretty interesting voices. I think that it's interesting that they chose actors and actresses or voice actors and actresses from all different like nationalities and backgrounds, even though that they were portraying Japanese characters. Um, the cast is a top tier cast. They're like renowned actors and actresses, especially now. At the time, I'm not sure because it was a few years ago, but all of these actors are pretty big names. Like I know as soon as I heard Toki speaking, I knew. Like I was like, this person has some color and like it was giving. I know this voice. Like so yeah, they have some famous actors. They have Jada Pinkett Smith. Um, they have Billy Bob Thornton, which the name doesn't stick out to me, but then like when you look at, their all the works that they've been in, you will recognize a lot of these actors and actresses, even like by their face, even though here they're just using their voice. There's also Keith David and Billy Kudrup, and those people are very popular in a ton of different works. So it's interesting to see that they did voice acting for this film. And also, I think like the script was really well done for these. A lot of the actors and actresses, they played animals, and I feel like they did it in a way that wasn't corny or cheesy. Like it flowed. The whole thing flowed really, really well. Um, yeah, I just think that they did a good job with the cast. It was a little bit weird to have like voices that kind of didn't match, the general appearance of the actors and actresses, but I feel like they did a good job. Like after the initial, sound that came out their mouth that wasn't, their stereotypical voice, it really did flow at the end of the day for me.
I
I
feel like
agree.
I feel like nowadays when you see animation, it's like all these like big names. Like it's like, oh, Kevin Hart, Kevin Spacey, all these people like in like one movie. And you're just like, dang, like some of these people don't really fit in like what I'm looking at. So I feel like the voices did fit and I kind of liked it in a way. Like it wasn't like, oh, we're just promoting all these big names so people watch the movie. It's like, oh, it actually works out.
And when you think of it, some of these big names are kind of voice actors. Like Keith David is 100% a voice actor. Like he's been in so much animation. So even though like he's a big name actor, I feel like a lot of people forget that he is a huge voice actor as well. I mean, my favorite being Princess and the Frog, but he's done a lot of just voice acting altogether. And I want to say the dubbed version might have been released in 99, but it could have been released in 97 too. I'm not 100% sure. But like in the context of when it was released, a lot of these people, like she was saying, a lot of these people weren't really big names. And so, yeah, it feels nice to be like, oh, like even though these voices are recognizable to us now, like back then, a lot of people probably wouldn't have known who was playing them. And so you're just going like completely off of, oh, this is just a good movie, not, oh, look at these big names that are in this movie. I should go support the big name. And then it's kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought that I liked the diversity of the cast. I thought it was very interesting to see that Jada Pinkett Smith was voicing somebody, but I enjoyed it. I liked it.
I would like to know why they didn't get more like maybe Japanese American people to voice act. I'd like to know the reason behind that. I have to look it up and
Yeah,
see.
I think that was a really interesting choice. Like, cause like I was confused because I was like, okay, is this the original? Because
Right.
this is weird. But then knowing that there was an original with like a completely Japanese cast, I was like, Even I'm really surprised that they didn't make the main character of Japanese background because I feel like in a lot of films they'll do that. Like they'll keep
Right.
some form of the culture the same. But when I looked at the updated cast, I don't believe like any of them are Japanese, at least for the main speaking roles. So that was really interesting.
For like most of their movies though, I know like they don't always like the dub version, they don't use like Japanese American actors. Cause I know for Ponyo, they had Noah Cyrus and they had
Right.
Frankie Jonas. Cause I remember I seen it in theaters. So
Yeah.
it was like, I don't know.
I love
I don't
Ponyo.
know. Because I know they don't always use like Japanese American. Hold on.
Yeah, I thought that that was interesting. But then I looked up and they kept like the director, I'm pretty sure, the same for both.
Right.
So that was I think making it a little more authentic. So the original idea was still kept.
Right.
Yeah. So our next category is the costuming or like the attire slash setting. So I went on a deep dive over the summer on all these movies, and one of my favorite YouTubers, Mina Lee, she did like a whole video on like how their their costumes made their identities. So I was like, oh, I get to rewatch this. Ah, okay. So Ashitaka is a Amishi indigenous Japan. He has a Amishi indigenous Japanese identity, and the Amishi group was genocided by the Yamato state. And so you see, like, there's not a lot to go off of on like what they wore and like who they exactly were. So you see, like, Miyazaki had put together like a different collaboration of different like minority groups in Japan. He had Ashitaka wear a go, which is a Bhutanese garment. And he had a kira that was like a belt, and it was believed to have magic powers. Um, he also wore a morokode, which was the little sleeve thing that he wore to like cover his arm so that people couldn't tell that he like had, I guess, a demon in his arm. Um, they said that it was usually something that soldiers wore when they went out, and then he wore like a kaya hen, which was like the knee pad leggings that he wore, so like he wouldn't catch a cold on his like legs or like a bug wouldn't bite him or something like that. And then he also wore the mino, which was the hat that he wore to keep the rain or like other types of water out from like touching him. He also said since the Emishi were an extinct group, he didn't want to I guess, tarnish their name in a sense. So he didn't want to be typical, like we said, like I said before about like he didn't want it to be like a, oh, this is like a samurai type thing. And he didn't do a Japanese top knot. He wanted to do like a Chinese top knot. So it was like something that wasn't, I guess, known. He also had the older woman in the beginning who was like, oh, you're gonna die. He had her wear patterns that were similar to the Ainu folk clothing. It basically had like big embroidery patterns that we saw like in the beginning. I don't know if people noticed. Ashitaka, his sister, she also wore like a hat that they said it was like a big brimmed hat that was similar to what the Shan people wore. And then a big costume was San's costume. They said that it was based on the Jaman woman, and they had like similar earrings that were like circular shaped, but the difference was that hers weren't like gauges, and the Jaman women wore like gauges. They also said that their necklaces were similar because they also wore animal teeth around their neck. And then I forgot like that one scene where she was just standing there on like the wolf with the mask on. That was also similar to like the clay mask that they used to wear. Um, I'm sorry. Her like wardrobe or like her attire, it sort of shows like the confliction that she has with wanting to have a good relationship with nature, but also like I don't know how to describe it. It just like it showed like her inner conflict in a way.
Mhm.
Her pelt that she wore throughout the movie showed like her relationship with her mother and how she is pushing away like normal human attire because she sees herself as this wolf from what she was raised in. And then throughout the movie, you see she wears blood on her face, and you see that as like her way of desiring confrontation in a sort. Like she doesn't want to conform to what a human should be. She doesn't see herself that way, and she's willing to put up a fight for anything. And then we have Iboshi, who was like the leader, I guess, of the Iron people. You see that she was similar to a Shiba Yoshi, which was a female performer who wore male clothing and like was able to use swords. And you see that throughout her wardrobe. It may not have been like exactly the same thing, but you did see her carrying around like a sword and everything and like wearing male clothing. Um, you also see like throughout the movie, she has like feminine makeup is what it was described as, but she wear like masculine clothing, and it showed like I keep saying conflict, but like her back and forth wanting to be like a nurturer and like a care provider, while also being this destructive power that like her overall mission was to take down the spirit. Um, yeah, that's it. Oh wait, they also said that like she was like the background for her character was like this provocative woman or something like that who was like thrown into sex slavery or something like that. And the Shiba Yoshi, they also would have to sleep with their wealthy suitors that would come to like the shows and everything. And you sort of see like, oh, her background story is sort of similar to what she's supposed to represent.
That's awesome. Like it's I mean, I'm at a loss of words. Like the I mean, the depth behind just their costuming. I guess it's drawing more than costuming, but to want to put all of not to want to be stereotypical and to want to include like as much culture in like this 2-hour movie is amazing. Like especially the lady Ishobi at the that you talked about at the end. Like I even though she's kind of the antagonist, I honestly enjoyed her character. I feel like she was the most conflicting to enjoy. Like you said, like she had an inner conflict of wanting to be nurturing because she definitely took in all these people. She took in the women from the brothels, took in the lepers, like she took in all these people, but then at the same time she wanted to kill the forest god so she could grow her empire. So like that conflicting um inner conflict back and forth for her was really interesting. And just to know that her clothing reflects all that is, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what Mina Lee was saying in the video too. Cause I had did my rewatch. I was like, yeah. I was like, first of all, that's my girl. I was like, and
Right.
she already talked about what I want to talk about. But she was talking about how like um I lost my train of thought. She basically was like supposed to be this person that you don't want to root for, but you also feel conflicted about. So if it was like a typical Disney film, like, oh, automatically from jump, this is the bad guy, you shouldn't root for,
Right.
but it's like not that simple in a way. And she was like, she enjoyed that how it was a woman, because it's like you never like if it was just another like male wreaking havoc,
Right.
nobody will understand like I guess what they were trying to get in the movie. And it'd just be like another like, oh, look what he's doing. He's causing
Right.
pain. I don't know. I just enjoyed it.
Definitely.
And then in the setting, I guess you could say like with all the movies, they always are like in this nature, like you see like a lot of bright colors until like something goes down and then it starts to get dimmer. That's something that I always noticed. It's just always nature heavy in a sense. And then our next category is the psychological effect, and then the question is, what can films teach us about our relationship to the environment?
I mean, I feel like we touched on it just a little bit, about, I mean, it's overall, I think the overall message at least is, our I mean, our view on the environment and how we kind of take, because I mean, when you take the Iron Town, they were very gun ho on, yeah, let's wipe out the entire forest so that we can have more iron because we've never had this before. And I mean, speaking as an American, I think a lot of Americans are kind of that way of, oh, well, we didn't have it, so we deserve it as well. When it comes down to it, if we kill the environment, what's going to be left? Like there's nothing left. I mean, I think it does a good job on just showing like the way that we treat the environment and the way that we see the environment is very negative. um we don't see it as something that sustains our life, and that's a bad thing. I mean, we see as she killed the forest spirit, and it all, all that black ooze started to it ruin the town. The forest started to be depleted. Like and they were like, what are we gonna do?" And I feel like that's the same thing of right now. Like, if we completely ruin the environment, what can we do? Because they're not gonna send us all up there on rockets. We don't all have that kind of money. So when the rest of us common folk are left behind, what's gonna happen? But yeah.
I agree. I think it sort of showed like how us as like humans, we take. Like we're okay with destroying the planet until we are at our wits' end and we're like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this. But even then, it's still put on like the lower class, I guess, to do all the hard work. Meanwhile, the upper class still taking and destroying. And it's like we have, I don't know, it just feels like we can't do anything about it.
Mm. I definitely agree with that too.
I agree as well. Like, I feel like there's things in life where we know we can choose another option that doesn't like negatively impact other aspects of society or nature, but we don't. Like, we could have electric cars, but we don't. Like, we still, use gas burning cars. Like, humans like consciously make selfish decisions because we don't see the impact that we have like on the rest of the world and the universe and the planet. I feel like I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the environment from films and from media. Like, I know growing up, I watched The Lorax. I loved that movie. Like, I feel like those films teach you a lot about just how we interact with the environment and our impact, because it's not every day that, you're around people who are like, hey, don't litter. Like, it's like a conscious thing that you have to do yourself, because unfortunately, a lot of the choices we make on a day-to-day basis do negatively impact the environment, whether we want to or not. Just the things that we buy, how they're packaged. Like, we just like we ruined earth, like, if I'm being honest. And I feel like humans just have an egocentric view of life. Like, we see it from our point of view. We don't think with every single choice we make that we're impacting the other species that live on earth. So that's kind of sad. But I feel like films do a really good job of reminding people to be conscious and to think about those things that we don't always consider.
I agree. Now you got me want to watch the Lorax though. Can't even
Isn't
lie.
that movie so cute? Like,
It's so good. Like you said, it's
yeah.
such a good movie to like teach you about like the environment and how people treat the environment. I think these are also good films. The Lorax in this one are good films to like kind of touch on like how the industry itself, like big business, because like Irontown, like they're mining iron. They're talking about, oh, all the money that we're gonna make. And then the Lorax, you have him, cutting down the trees to make his product. I feel like really good comparisons about how big business ruins the environment as well. Like, because I do believe, we as, single people can do all that we can, but until we kind of force big business and billionaires and these type of people to really make things affordable, like make those type of cars affordable, change the kind of factories and the kind of pollution that they have, until those type of things change, it's kind of hard to really revert the things that we've done. Not that that is really possible anyway, but stopping it would be great. But I think they touch on big business very well too.
I honestly, adding on to that, I think it's like frustrating as well because like you, like personally, I feel like I see myself as sort of like a little man in a sense when it comes to this issue because like I can't do as much as I want to do because
Right.
like as much as I can recycle or go green and stop chewing on the side or like doing whatever, like to stop using plastic, use reusable bags. It still feels like I'm doing nothing to put a dent in this like crisis because there's other people that are like putting more in the environment that's worse. I can stop eating meat, which I did, but that's not going to change the fact that a lot of people are still consuming or wasting away a lot of animals, I guess, in a sense. Or like I can keep reusing paper or like stop buying a bunch of paper. That isn't stopping people from chopping down a bunch of trees. So it's just like a constant like it takes a toll
Right.
on your mental health in a way sometimes because like you want to do more and you try to do more, but it's like you can't in a sense. And it's like more just weighing down, weighing down, weighing down. It's like, oh, the world's gonna end in this year if you don't start.
Right.
But it's like, I'm doing everything I can. Everybody's doing everything they can. We stopped using plastic straws, which by the way, bring those back because the paper straws stressing me
No,
out.
no,
Not the paper
hate
straws, the
paper
cardboard
girl,
straws.
go to Ross or Target, get some metal straws. You'll be okay.
Right. I definitely have
I
reusable ones,
have
but I just don't carry
but
them.
I always forget when I go out to bring it with me because
Yeah.
Right.
get to a restaurant, they're like, oh, here's a paper straw, and it's done after 2 sips. But it's like it's just stressful. Like I try my best, and it
Right.
feels like it's not enough.
I feel so like defeated when I, like try to feel accomplished about helping the environment just because like you said it is so much negative, so my little positives just don't feel big enough. Like the environment just it makes me so sad because like life is so beautiful, like real true life and mostly nature specifically, like buildings and brick walls, that's not giving. Like a nice tree, a nice breeze, a nice stream, like those things are going to wither away if we keep moving how we move. So it just makes me so sad.
Same. All right. Any final comments?
I really like this movie, and I think it's mostly because of the animation. Because I don't know, I've always kind of liked like all the movies that came out in the 90s, like all the Disney movies, like, like with this type of style of animation with like the 2D and like it's so dreamlike and beautiful. Like I just can't get over that. So yeah, it was a great movie. 10 out of 10.
I say watch Ponyo. That movie's better.
I
I,
know it's
I
good. I used to watch it as a kid.
They were so good. Now y'all about to make me deep dive again.
It this was a really good movie. Like, I can't remember who said it earlier. Like, they don't really watch anime. Like, I don't either. But like this and like Ponyo, a lot of these movies really make me wanna like really dive deep into anime and try it out. But also, I get addicted to things really easily, so I just don't need another addiction. But overall, I agree. Like this is a 10 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed the movie and the message.
Same. Also, guys, this is our last one, I think.
It is. This is it.
We ate every single one.
oh.
Right. I'm so proud. This was a good class.
Yeah.
We did good. We did good. All right, let's all say our goodbyes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.